The Public Health Agency of Canada confirmed media reports just before Christmas that it had secretly accessed location data for 33 million mobile devices to monitor the movement of Canadians during COVID-19. That number represents roughly 87% of the population who were spied on without any knowledge that the government was accessing their data. Public Health Agency of Canada officials were forced to admit this had occurred after a request for proposal was published with a call for interest in continuing a program of collecting data for up to 5 more years. There are a few points I want to make on this. First, no one knew that PHAC was collecting their data and for what purpose. So, why was it done in secret? Who authorized it? And who was this shared with? Second, the request for proposal to continue this program appeared on December 17, 2021, the day after Parliament adjourned for the holidays, and is set to expire January 21, 2022, 10 days before Parliament is set to return, conveniently leaving no time during this period for questions to be asked by parliamentarians before it is too late. Third, what measures are being put in place to protect de-identified information from being re-identified? It should not be lost on anyone that PHAC's request for proposal is being undertaken without any indication that this was about to occur, with no ability for parliamentary scrutiny to determine what this information has been used for, what outcomes the agency and by extension the government is hoping to achieve to mitigate the damage being done by COVID in our communities, and what protections are in place to ensure that the privacy of Canadians has been and will be protected under this program. The pandemic has created opportunities for massive surveillance surge on many levels, not only for public health, but also for monitoring those working, shopping, and learning from home. Lyon also stated that there's evidence coming in from many sources, from countries around the world, that what was seen as a huge surveillance surge post 9/11 is now completely upstaged by pandemic surveillance. Last week, I wrote the Canada's Privacy Commission to investigate the reports that have surfaced and the request for proposal. I asked that an investigation be launched into the fact that PHAC tracked and collected mobile data of Canadians without their knowledge and their plans to continue this practice for up to the next 5 years. It's uncertain to me and many others whether the Privacy Commission was even aware that this was occurring, because in a report in the National Post, the Office of the Privacy Commissioner said, and I quote, "It is following up with PHAC to obtain more information about the proposed initiative." This gives us every indication that the OPC was not even aware of what PHAC and the government were doing and what they planned to do. This causes us great concern, as it should every Canadian. It is vital that we do not allow the COVID response to create permanent backslide of the rights and freedoms of Canadians, including their fundamental right to privacy.
Hi there, everyone. This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and the clip that you just saw was of a Conservative member of Parliament who was exposing the fact that over 33 million devices are currently being monitored. That makes up about 87% of the Canadian population who are currently being spied on by the Canadian government as a part of their response to this COVID-1984 nightmare. And now you see why I've been calling it COVID-1984. Well, the purpose of today's video, guys, is really twofold. Number one, I wanted to explain the fact that, first of all, this is certainly not new. This has been going on for many, many years. In fact, it's accelerated since the pandemic. As the member of Parliament said, you think the surveillance state in the post 9/11 world was bad. Well, what's going on right now in the COVID-1984 nightmare will completely put that to shame. So I not only want to talk about the fact that this has been going on for quite some time, we should already know this, but also, most importantly, solutions, right? What do we do? How do we deal with this in this technological era where pretty much everybody has a smartphone or a cell phone or some sort of device? How do we get around the surveillance state in this Big Brother Orwellian nightmare? So that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. But first I wanted to point out the fact that I've been reporting on this for years. I wanted to point you to a couple of articles that I reported on a few years ago, just to show you that this really is nothing new. We see here, we have from Global News, this is back in April of 2020, tech companies are proposing Canada use phone apps to track the spread of the coronavirus. Again, that's way back in April of 2020. We also have this from Global News. Countries opt for phone tracking amid coronavirus. Should Canada? Well, as we see from here, coronavirus phone data shows that Canadians avoiding restaurants, transit, stores, and offices. So it's clearly already been in use for the last couple of years here in Canada. We see here at Reuters, European mobile operators share data for coronavirus fight. Or this one from a year ago from The Guardian, Watchdog approves the use of UK phone data to help fight the coronavirus. And we have this from Politico as well, Google wielding its vast troves of phone tracking data in the virus fight. So as I said, this is nothing new. This is something that's been openly discussed for the last couple of years. And the Canadian government is just going ahead and doing it behind parliamentaries' back. As the MP said, Parliament is currently not in session. They put this in the day after it was off, and then they're getting rid of it the day before Parliament comes back. So as I said, there's to be no discussions about this. But what we need to discuss, guys, are solutions to this. I've put that out a few years ago. You may recall this video here. The iPhone exposed. Biometric identification is just the beginning. And I detailed the fact that this is moving towards a surveillance state. And more importantly, I started to show you how you can actually defeat this thing and start actually using the technology as a double-edged sword. But first of all, learning how to shut it off. If you haven't seen this one, guys, check out iPhone's significant locations, spy tool exposed, how to access and turn off your data and delete your history. And as you can see here, I show you, they show you within your phone exactly where you are being tracked. You know, I can show you how to look all this stuff up, most importantly, how to turn it off and to delete all of that data. Now, as I said, I want to talk about solutions for how to get around this current situation we have. And I got a few, 2 or 3, namely number one, the obvious, leave your cell phones at home, or maybe don't even have one. Now that's easier said than done in this, you know, 21st century of the technological era where everybody's kind of hooked into the internet and using cell phones. And if you happen to rely on it for work, that's not necessarily gonna work for you. But for some people, if it is within your realm of possibility to not even own one, then you are way ahead of the rest, guys. But there are the other little things that you can do, especially if you do feel you do need to have one for whatever emergency reasons, work reasons, whatever it may be. You may recall a while back, I put out a pro tip about how to avoid the Big Brother Orwellian nightmare by getting yourself a Faraday cage for your phone, much like this one here. Sorry, let me just, yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a Faraday cage. You may recall, guys, I ended up putting together a project to make and sell these. I teamed up with somebody and we built this prototype. It's fantastic. It has little magnetic snap-on buttons. It fits in the comfort of your pocket, and it blocks out all cell phone radiation, all Wi-Fi, all Bluetooth, everything. You cannot be tracked when your phone is in one of these cases. We developed this prototype way back in 2020, you know, when we knew all the tracking was going to be ramped up, and I tried to pre-sell enough so that we could get to the point of manufacturing these. Unfortunately, the interest just wasn't there enough, so I didn't get a chance to ever go into production with these. But maybe we could re-look at this idea and re-look at this project, and if I find that there's enough interest in this, maybe we could get that project going again. If you guys are interested in that, check the links in the description below, or just you know, sorry, comment. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in me you know, re-looking into. there's a few other interesting things that can be done. Let's say, for example, you want to meet with a group. It doesn't matter what kind of group. If you're considered by the government to be a threat, if you're considered to be those who go against the status quo, maybe you're a militia, maybe you are just a a group who wants to discuss how to counter all these problems that we're all facing, but you don't want to be tracked by the government. Here's a little trick you could employ if you wanted to. It is quite possible in this day and age to use the technology as a double-edged sword and to create a diversion for the authorities so that you can meet with the people you want to without them ever knowing. So how could you do something like that? Well, already knowing they're going to be tracking our movements and tracking what we do through our cell phones, it's quite possible these days to get a cheap cell phone, maybe a $30 or $40 cell phone from Walmart. Let's say you pick up 15 or 20 of those. You grab some SIM cards, you pop them in there, and you start discussing your plans to meet so that you can do whatever it is you are planning on doing. So what you do, guys, is you talk about where you're going to meet on these phones, knowing the authorities are listening. You then put all the phones in this location. Let's say it's like I don't know, an empty abandoned warehouse or something. You make sure the location services are all turned on, and you then meet with your group in a rendezvous location, unknown to the police. So when they try to crack down on this illegal meeting, they will show up to somewhere and find a box of cell phones where they think there's about 20 or 30 people congregating illegally. It's actually been a diversion the whole time. And you've already met with your people, you've done the things you've needed to do, and the authorities are none the wiser. Just some of the little things that, you know, we need to start doing to think outside of the box when it comes to getting around these sorts of things. There's lots of little things you can do, guys. Even as simply as having something like this, you know. I implemented this on my cell phone pretty much as soon as I got it and as soon as I found out that these things exist. And you have this, for example. Here, cover up your camera, guys, until you want to be seen, until you want to use it. That's when you use it. See, this way you use the camera when you want, you don't use it when you don't want to. I don't know if you know, but the front-facing cameras have the ability to track your eye movements. So for example, if you're looking at Instagram at a collage of photos, and there's 20 of them there, the phone knows which one you are actually honing in on. It can pinpoint your eye location to which pictures within that collage are you interested in. That way they can tailor more so towards your likes, what sort of things they think they want to promote to you, what kind of ads they want to push on you, and all this sorts of stuff. Block all that at all times, guys, and only use the camera when you want to use it. Again, simple little things that you can do in your life to mitigate the Big Brother Orwellian surveillance state. And let's face it, guys, the vaccine passport system is just that. I don't know if you heard Bill Gates coming out talking about the fact that he thinks it's ridiculous that conspiracy theorists are saying he's putting microchips in the vaccines. And you know what? The fact of the matter is, he doesn't need to. They don't need microchips in the vaccines at this stage in the game. When you are willingly scanning your vaccine passport and showing your ID in conjunction with that, you are essentially acquiescing to the Big Brother surveillance control grid, and allowing it to happen by going along with the vaccine passport system. So every time you scan that QR code, you are adding to the Big Brother Orwellian nightmare. And we now have MPs who are realizing that this is going on. They want an investigation into this. Guys, I've been warning you that this has been happening for years now. I've known it's been happening for well over a decade, almost two. But now it's starting to come out into the mainstream. So again, you know, do the things that you need to do to mitigate the amount of surveillance that we have on us right now, because it's obviously a gross violation of our privacy rights, and it's another sign that this whole COVID-1984 nightmare really has nothing to do with health, and it really has everything to do with control. A Big Brother Orwellian surveillance grid is being set up all over the planet, and if you can't see that, guys, then you're really not paying close enough attention. So please let people know that this is going on. I've been trying to warn people about it for the last couple of years, and here we are in 2022. Now it's openly being discussed by some members of Parliament there on CPAC. But again, we need to take the responsibility of our privacy into our own hands by using, you know, Faraday cages, by getting rid of your device altogether, ideally, and yeah, just not taking part in this vaccine passport system whatsoever, because when you do, as I said, you acquiesce to the system and you are in fact a part of the problem. Guys, if you agree or even if you disagree, leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel about this Orwellian surveillance state that is currently being built and that we're all dealing with right now in this COVID-19 84 nightmare. That's all for today, guys. I want to thank you so much once again for tuning in. If you do appreciate my efforts to continuously bring you this information, please check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Here you can make a one-time donation with PayPal. You can sign up with a monthly reoccurring contribution. You can do that on Patreon as well. If you happen to be on Patreon, you can become a patron of mine. You can contribute other cryptocurrencies, or you can send an e-transfer to dan@pressfortruth.ca, or if you like to keep it old school, you can send cash or checks or equipment, or simply just words of encouragement as well to my P.O. box. All the links for that are located in the description below, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. Stay vigilant. Get rid of that cell phone if you can. At the very least, get yourself a Faraday cage and don't allow them to track you when you're out and about. Once again, guys, please click that thumbs up button and share this video with your friends and family who need to see it the most. And stay tuned, we're gonna have more video reports coming very soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.